Now we speak to Advocate Brenda Madumise, Director for Wise for Afrika, for more on this. Advocate Madumise, thank you so much for your time. I think what makes this particularly painful to comprehend is the fact that the wife has continuously said that, his ex-husband does not, her ex-husband rather, does not, deserve to be released on parole. I mean, your reaction to this former cop now being released on parole after only serving 13 of his 24-year sentence?
Thanks, Unati, for having me. I think first we need to understand that parole is made provision for in our law. So almost every prisoner is eligible for parole in this country. And most times the parole board looks at the firstly, when the court has sentenced the individual. Remember, the courts can give minimum or maximum sentence, and in this country, maximum sentence is 25 years. Now, after 25 years, you can still be eligible for parole, right? So in this case, Westhuizen was sentenced to 24 years. He has served half of that sentence, being 13 years. He's eligible for parole. And the second thing is that parole is a continuation of a sentence, by the way, right? So you go out, you are still expected, because there are conditions attached to that parole. Unfortunately, because with this country, it's about capacity, and also the community is being made aware of the conditions placed on the parolee. In most instances, the community is not even aware of the conditions attached to the parolee, so that they can monitor the parolee. Remember, why we give parole is for the parolee to be integrated back into society. In this case, Van Westhuizen, from what I understand, is that this was his third time applying for parole because he believed that he was eligible for parole. The wife had made a submission and representation to the parole board. However, it would seem that the parole board could have taken those submissions into consideration, but they look at many other things. What we do not know, and I think it's something that would want the ex-wife and other organizations to petition the Minister of Justice, whoever that is going to be, to review that decision by the parole board, because we want to understand whether the individual has been rehabilitated. What the assessment that was undertaken by the social workers and all the experts, did they come to the conclusion that this individual deserved to be paroled? Because the certain conditions and requirements must be met. Did he meet those conditions? Can he be rehabilitated back to society? Will the ex-wife be safe from him? Because that's a consideration, and it's something that must be considered.
Just looking at, in terms of what you're saying, while accepting, of course, that, serious offenders in this country are eligible for parole and, after serving at least half of their sentence, it would seem in this case that families, at least, from their vantage point, deem it fit that their voice is most times and most often not heard. And just having said what you've said in terms of, petitioning in this case to the minister, can this be done, relatively looking at the fact that the parole has already been granted?
Yeah, so you've got, so remember there's the parole board and then there's a review board. So the review board can review the decision of the parole board. It has set aside some of the decisions of the parole board, and so it's something that should be considered. The gravity of the crime here is 3 murders, right? It's serious enough for the review board to consider and reconsider the decision of the parole board. What is not in the public domain that we are all not aware of is whether this individual is rehabilitated. He might have told the parole board that I have changed, I have paid my debt to society, I'm a different man altogether from what I was. I'm remorseful. I don't know whether he has been able to apologize to the ex-wife, and I don't know what other actions he has taken to demonstrate his remorse, and we are not aware of those things. The parole board might have had the insight to such and believe that Van der Westhuizen is ready to be reintegrated back to society because he has demonstrated remorse, but also whilst he was in prison for the 13 years, he had been part of classes that deals with rehabilitation and all of that. And until and such time we are made aware of all of that, we will not be satisfied that there's justice meted. And the wife is well within her rights to believe that justice has not been done, because she made her representation and made a submission declining and in fact not supporting that her ex-husband be released on parole. And it's something that must be considered, and I think there is a possibility that this must be reviewed, and it must go to the minister for the review board to look at that decision and review that decision.
I mean, just given the seriousness of this,
it's gruesome. I mean, it's three murders of 3 children, you know,
and
the
youngest being 21
because
months.
You believe, the one is 21 months, and so it must count for something.
Now, Advocate Madumise, just given the seriousness of the crime as we speak of it, and the fact that the wife has repeatedly said that her husband at the time killed the children because he simply didn't want to. He simply believed that she was not listening to him, and the fact also that we don't know if she is safe. I mean, we know, of course, that the parole board has said that. They've granted the parole from the 31st of July 2024 until September 2034. So what happens or what should be happening during this time in as far as rehabilitation is concerned, and particularly to protect, the wife from him and his character?
So what's going to happen is that, in the parole release is that there is an address that we believe is going to be staying at, and that there's a support system for him. We don't know what the support system is for him. That they might have said that he must undergo some classes or whatever, that he gets reintegrated into society. But there's another point that I wanted to bring to everyone's attention, and that is that we cannot use parole to deal with the overcrowding in prison. And I think that's what has been going on for quite some time, that we want to lessen the prison population, and we have been using parole as a way of, decluttering the prison system, and we need to guard against that we are, in this case, that's not the case, and in fact also taking his position that he's an ex-police officer, so we can't even ignore the fact that his position as a police officer could have played a role, because abuse of these processes has happened before. So what we want to put on the table, and I think many times we have seen individuals who have been paroled committing crime again and been taken back. Even with Van der Westhuizen, should Van der Westhuizen be violent again against any other member of society, decide to kill or commit another crime, that parole is revoked immediately and he's sent back. And so, the wife's safety is something that should be considered and should not be taken lightly. She's concerned about her safety, because remember, the ex-husband did this to punish her, right? And has destroyed her life. And I will repeat, we don't know whether he's rehabilitated, because we don't know what is the program that was given to him over the 13 years in prison, so that then we can believe that he's a changed man. The wife would have been at the parole hearing. He would have seen her ex-husband, and she's in the best position to tell us that she does not believe that this is a changed man, and I think we should believe that coming from her.
Advocate Madumise, let's leave it there for now. Thank you so much for your time. Of course, this is off the back of the former Cape Town cop Marius van der Westhuizen being granted parole for the 2006 murder of his 3 children.